Welcome to You're Not Broken, Just Rewiring, a free audiobook podcast by me, Glenn Ostlund. Chapter 3, The Mind-Body-Spirit Complex and the Harmony You Forgot You Were. Is it just me, or does modern life train us to split ourselves into parts and then wonder why we feel scattered? You sit in the boring meeting, nodding politely. Your shoulders ache, but you keep typing. Your heart's not in it, but you can't quite hear what it's saying. And under it all, there's a faint hum, like static, like a signal trying to reach you through the noise. That's the dissonance, the fragmentation, the quiet ache of a system built for harmony, trying to function in pieces. The pattern of three. Across cultures, mythologies, and philosophies, there's a recurring structure that shows up when people try to describe what it means to be whole. The number 3. In Christianity, there's the Trinity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. In Hinduism, the Trimurti: Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; Shiva, the transformer. In Taoism, the three treasures: Jing, essence; Qi, energy; Shen, spirit. In ancient Greece, Plato described the tripartite soul: reason, spirit, appetite. In Celtic traditions, the triple goddess appears as Maiden, Mother, Crone. Even modern psychology echoes this triad, with cognition, emotion, and meaning. These frameworks didn't come from the same place. They emerged independently, across continents and centuries. But the patterns keep repeating. Why? Folklorist Alan Dundas observed that cultures around the world tend to organize meaning in threes: 3 wishes, 3 trials, threefold truths. He called it the rule of 3. 3 creates a sense of movement, of completeness. A single point is static. 2 points create tension, but 3 creates a field, a rhythm, a whole. You can feel this in everyday language. You might say, "I felt frustrated, overwhelmed," and then search for a third word: tired, off, unmotivated, even when you've already said enough. The third word doesn't always add new meaning. Sometimes it echoes. Sometimes it softens. But it feels necessary. Not because you're exaggerating, but because your speech is shaped by story structures that mirror the function of 3. Beginning, middle, end. Past, present, future. We're surrounded by 3s, formed by 3s. So we reach for something that sounds like wholeness, even when the content is incomplete. Which brings us here: mind, body, spirit. Not a hard science, but orientation tools, functional metaphors, a way to map something ungraspable: the human self. So, as we explore this system, this triad, remember, these are categories, not cages, placeholders, not proofs. What do we even mean by mind? Is it thought? The voice that narrates, worries, plans? And body? That's more than meat, it's memory, field, container. And spirit? That one's the slipperiest. Sometimes it feels like breath, sometimes ache, sometimes awe, sometimes the whisper that says, "This isn't it," before your mind catches up. We'll use these terms, yes, but gently, as signs, not certainties, as ways to listen for a harmony that's been there all along. Tuning the trio. In the last chapter, we explored those flickers of agency, the places where you feel the brush wobble, where a different choice emerges. But what happens when the brush wants to move one way and the hand, the canvas, the rhythm behind it, all pull another? That's where we are now. Because transformation doesn't come from the flicker alone. It comes from the tuning. When the parts of you begin to move in resonance, mind, body, spirit, not as a hierarchy, as a system, as a song. When the mind becomes the CEO, you over-explain. You rehearse the text before sending it. You plan your backup's backup. That's not just overthinking, it's strategy. If your feelings weren't safe, your mind stepped in, took over, became the protector, the analyst, the CEO. I once had a client, we'll call her Ava, who could explain her childhood trauma in clinical terms. She knew the DSM codes, the attachment theories. But when I asked her what her body felt while she was telling the story, she froze. That wasn't avoidance, it was protection. Her mind had pushed the others off stage to keep the system functional. But logic alone can't metabolize grief. It can't release trauma from fascia. It can't hug you back. The body doesn't speak in words. It speaks in symptoms. A stomach drop before a harmless call. A jaw that locks when praised. A migraine that arrives like clockwork after seeing your father. That's not coincidence. That's communication. Your body isn't malfunctioning. It's remembering. And when it's not heard, it speaks louder. That's not regression. That's loyalty to a truth your mind may not yet know how to say. When the spirit gets ghosted. And the spirit? Often the first to fade. Not because it's weak, because we stopped listening. The spirit lives in the dream you keep having, the music that moves you, the chill in your spine when something just feels off. It knows before you know. But if you stay too long in survival mode, the spirit gets ghosted, dismissed as woo, brushed off as unproductive. But it doesn't disappear. It waits for stillness, for beauty, for that quiet whisper, there's got to be more than this. And it answers, not in doctrine, in resonance. In therapy, we map this triad through models like internal family systems and polyvagal theory. Mind becomes inner parts, narrative identity. Body becomes autonomic signals, interoception. Spirit becomes meaning-making, coherence, awe. When the mind loops, the body tenses. When the body freezes, the spirit dims. When the spirit stirs, the mind doubts. This isn't pathology. It's dysregulation. And when one part begins to listen, the others soften. The system begins to sing. A translation from symptom to signal. Your overthinking might be the body saying, "We need more control than we had back then." Your fatigue might be the spirit saying, "This pace isn't aligned with our values." Your anxiety might be the mind saying, "I don't feel safe enough to stop planning." These aren't flaws. They're functions. Adaptive attempts to re-coordinate a system pulled out of tune. You're not broken. You're just playing in 3 different keys. Of course it sounds like noise. Try this, not as homework, but as an experiment in reunion. Mind. What story am I telling myself right now? Body. What sensation is most present? Spirit. What longing is beneath the surface? Don't fix, just notice. This is the beginning of return. A return to the wings. We've met the dragonfly before, not just as a symbol, but as a story. I didn't invent it. I borrowed it, repurposed it. Not for its form alone, but for its function. Because this shape, this metamorphosis, offers the nervous system something precious. A rhythm. A pattern that says, this is the middle, not the end. Like every rite of passage, the dragonfly's arc moves in 3 stages: separation, liminality, return. If you've ever walked across a graduation stage, stood at the front of a wedding ceremony, or experienced any moment where you were first set apart from the group, then passed through a threshold of transformation, and finally re-entered your community with a new identity, a new name, a secret handshake, you already know what this means. Perhaps rites of passage have always been humanity's way of focusing collective attention on the natural transitions occurring within the body. So again, let's return to the dragonfly. First, in the form of a nymph, it leaves the world it knew. Submerged, armored, instinctual. Then it climbs, not because it knows where it's going, but because something inside says, now. This is the in-between, the molting, the ache, the stillness mistaken for failure. And only then do the wings unfold. That pattern lives everywhere, in myth, in therapy, in nervous systems rebuilding themselves. But its real genius isn't symbolic, it's functional. It gives your brain something to hold on to while you're dissolving. It reminds you, you're not lost, you're liminal, you are in process. And coherence, that sense of mind, body, and soul moving in harmony, isn't the end of the story. It's the return. It's your new wings. Wings that carry you in and out of coherence as you continue to explore, encounter, and adapt through every moment of your life. Because you're not broken. You're rewiring, always.